Welcome back to Elden Ring series. I'm really glad you could join me again on this journey. Last time we dove deep into the shining beginnings of the lands between. We talked about how the Greater Will chose Marika, and how the Golden Order brought hope and light to the world. We marveled at a time when every ray of light, every whisper in the wind, and every blossoming flower spoke of promise and divine grace. Today, though we take a different path, a path into the shadows. In this video, titled The Fall of the Golden Order, How the Shattering Doomed the Lands Between, we're going to explore the darker side of that history. We're going to talk about how that bright, hopeful era began to crumble and how the very land we once admired turned into a place of sorrow and decay. A world that was once whole where every element lived in harmony. Now that same world slowly breaking apart, its beauty fading, its spirit dampened by loss. That is the story we're about to unfold today. We'll look at the events that led to the shattering, the moments when small signs of trouble turned into deep, overwhelming despair. I know this may sound heavy, but sometimes, understanding the pain of the past can help us appreciate the light even more. It's like when you lose something dear to you, you start to see just how much it meant. And that's what this story is all about: loss, change, and the endless cycle of hope and heartbreak. We'll start by looking at how the world was before the shattering. We'll explore a time when the Golden Order reigned supreme, filling the lands between with a vibrant, almost magical energy. Then, we'll shift our focus to the events that sparked the shattering, the small, almost unnoticeable signs that eventually led to a complete downfall. We'll talk about how the once united society began to splinter, how hope gave way to despair, and how the very essence of the land started to change. We'll compare what life was like in those golden days with how it is now, filled with crumbling ruins, broken dreams, and an overwhelming sense of loss. And while it might seem overwhelmingly sad, it's important to remember that even in the darkest of times, there is always a spark of hope, a chance for something new to emerge from the ashes of the old. Before we dive into the details, I want you to think of today's story as a conversation, a journey together into the lands between that is as tragic as it is beautiful. So, grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's walk through these haunted memories together. And if you enjoy these deep dives into the mysteries of the lands between, please hit that subscribe button and consider supporting our channel. Your support helps us keep these conversations going and allows us to explore even deeper into these fascinating worlds. The lands between, in those ancient days, stood bathed in a warm, gentle light, a light that touched every corner of the realm with hope and order. In this era, the Golden Order ruled with a steady, calming hand, and every living thing worked together in harmony. Here, the earth was rich and welcoming, and the skies were vast and clear. Every sunrise brought a new promise of unity, and every gentle breeze carried the soft murmurs of shared purpose. In this time, the fields spread wide and green, alive with the sound of laughter and the hum of busy life. Villages flourished under the watchful care of the Golden Order. Neighbors greeted each other warmly, sharing small acts of kindness. A helping hand in the fields, a meal shared at dusk, or a simple nod of recognition on a long walk home. Families and friends were bound by trust, and communities thrived on the generosity of every soul. The natural world itself echoed the order of that time. Muddy trees, their leaves shimmering in the soft light, provided shelter and shade, while clear streams and gentle rivers nourished the land. The earth, covered with wildflowers and soft grasses, was a place where nature and man existed side by side in perfect balance. Every creature, from the smallest insect to the grandest beast, played its role in this intricate dance, guided by the unseen hand of the divine. During these days, the Golden Order was more than a set of rules. It was the way of life. People found comfort in the knowledge that every action, every small gesture had its place in the grand design. The sense of belonging was strong, and every individual knew they were part of a greater whole. The warmth of human connection was evident in the quiet moments shared in humble homes and the long, winding paths through golden fields. There was a sense of unity, a feeling that everyone's heart beat in time with the rhythm of nature. Yet, even in this serene era, a quiet sadness lay hidden beneath the surface. The beauty and order of the Golden Age were fragile, much like the soft petals of a flower that eventually fall to the ground. Beneath the bright glow of hope, there were whispers of inevitable change, a subtle warning that nothing could last forever. This underlying sorrow reminded all that the perfection of order was delicate, and that the smallest disruption could send ripples through the fabric of life. People looked to the skies and the land with a deep reverence. They built their homes close to nature, drawing strength from the living world around them. In the soft murmur of a stream or the rustle of leaves in the wind, they heard the voice of the divine, a voice that spoke of love, unity, and the promise of a better tomorrow. Even as they worked the land and celebrated together, there was an awareness that the harmony they enjoyed was a gift, one that required constant care and devotion. Every corner of the lands between radiated a sense of calm security. The Golden Order provided not only structure, but also a feeling of peace. Communities gathered to celebrate harvests, and festivals lit up the nights with gentle music and soft lights. The connections among people were deep and lasting, built on a foundation of mutual respect and shared dreams. These bonds were as strong as the ancient trees, and as vital as the flowing rivers that crisscrossed the realm. This was a time when every touch, every smile, every word exchanged between strangers and friends alike was imbued with meaning. The people believed that through these small, everyday moments, they contributed to a greater tapestry of life, a tapestry woven by the divine, one that reflected both the glory and the fragility of existence. The Golden Order was not just a promise. It was the very air they breathed, the ground they walked on, and the light that warmed their hearts. But as time flowed on, even this perfect order began to show tiny cracks. The land, once filled with constant hope, slowly started to change. The calm certainty of the Golden Age gave way to a growing unease, a subtle sense that the balance, however beautiful, was not meant to last forever. And as these early signs of dissonance appeared, the people felt a deep sorrow. They clung even more tightly to the warmth of their community, cherishing every moment of unity and support, knowing deep down that the light might one day fade. The days of the Golden Order, once filled with warm light and gentle unity, slowly began to fade. A quiet tension crept into the heart of the lands between, and the world that had been so harmonious started to show signs of unraveling. In this time, subtle betrayals emerged like small fractures in a once solid mirror, hinting at the doom that was soon to come. The first signs were not loud or violent, they were gentle, almost sorrowful. People noticed that the brilliant glow of hope grew dimmer with each passing day. Monuments, once proud and tall, began to crumble ever so slowly. Where laughter once echoed in sunlit streets, there grew a heavy silence. The very thread that had bound the community began to fray. Friends looked at each other with uncertainty, and the simple act of sharing a meal now carried an undercurrent of loss. In those early days of change, the beauty of nature started to mirror the sorrow of its people. The fields that had once been lush and green now bore the marks of neglect, as if the earth itself was mourning. Trees that had stretched their branches toward the sky began to droop, and the once clear rivers turned sluggish. There was a growing sense of division among the people, a subtle fracture that spread like a shadow across every heart. The harmony that had defined the Golden Age was breaking apart, and the price was measured in the loss of hope. Even the grand symbols of the Golden Order, the towering statues and perfectly aligned structures, began to show cracks. Their surfaces weathered, their edges blurred by time. These monuments, which had once stood as proud witnesses to a unified world, now reminded everyone of what was slipping away. The light that had bathed the lands began to falter, and with it the belief in a future filled with promise. The constant, unyielding joy that had united people was now replaced by a slow, creeping despair. Every structure, every monument whispered the tale of a past that was no more. Internal betrayals further deepened this sorrow. Promises that once held people together were broken quietly, almost imperceptibly. Some who were meant to be the guardians of hope started to falter under the weight of their own doubts. A feeling of mistrust seeped into the community, where loyalty was taken for granted. The bonds that had once been so strong began to weaken, and the shared dreams of a bright tomorrow began to dissolve into a collective pain. The very idea of the Golden Order became a bittersweet memory, a reminder of how fragile human connection can be. Every morning, as the sun rose, it did so with a muted light, and every night fell with a chill that spoke of isolation. The people of the lands between began to feel that the unity they once enjoyed was not as everlasting as they had believed. Their hearts, once open and receptive to the warmth of community, became closed off, guarded against further hurt. The lively discussions in town squares turned into hushed whispers, as if everyone feared that speaking too loudly might shatter the remaining fragments of their shared hope. The natural world, too, felt the impact of this change. The gentle rustle of the leaves no longer sang a song of renewal, it was more like a slow lament. The clear streams and meandering rivers, which had once provided life and joy, now seemed to carry a quiet sorrow as they flowed. The lands, which had once been a canvas of vibrant colors and harmonious life, were now marked by the dull hues of despair. It was as though the spirit of the Golden Order had been siphoned away, leaving behind a cold, unresponsive world. In this era of shifting balance, the cost of lost hope became clear. The unity that had once been the backbone of society was replaced by isolation and mistrust. The Golden Order, which had promised protection and a bright future, could not hold back the inevitable tide of change. The people felt the weight of their collective disillusionment. It was a time when every smile held a trace of sorrow, every act of kindness was tinged with the pain of betrayal, and every memory of the past shone like a distant, fading star. Even as despair spread, there was a lesson to be learned. In the slow unraveling of the Golden Order, the people discovered that the brightest lights cast the longest shadows. The fall of this once great order was not merely a story of loss, it was a reminder of the impermanence of all things. Every structure that crumbled, every promise that was broken, spoke to the price of complacency and the cost of taking beauty for granted. In the end, the Shattering brought a deep understanding of the nature of hope and despair. The world, once bathed in the warm glow of order, now found itself in a state of perpetual twilight. A reminder that even in the most harmonious times, the seeds of sorrow may be sown. This quiet, inexorable decline taught the people that they must cherish every moment of togetherness, for even the brightest order can falter if not nurtured with care and understanding. The world we once knew has crumbled. In the wake of the Shattering, the lands between lie quiet and forlorn, a place where what was once a thriving society has become a ghostly memory. The grand order that promised hope and unity is gone, replaced by lonely, winding paths, broken ruins, and a landscape that mourns its lost glory. Walking these now empty streets, one can almost feel the weight of every step. The bustling market squares, once filled with laughter and conversation, are silent. The proud monuments, which used to stand as beacons of the Golden Order, now lie in ruins, cracked stone, and shattered dreams scattered across the land. The gentle hum of nature has turned into a melancholic dirge, as the trees droop under an unseen sorrow, and the rivers, once clear and lively, flow with a slow, mournful current. The people who once filled these lands with warmth and joy have either fled or become shadows of themselves. Even the smallest act, a kind word, a shared meal, or the tender embrace of a hug, now holds tremendous power. In a world where despair hangs in the air like a thick fog, a single hug becomes a bold act of rebellion. It is a quiet reminder that even in darkness, we can still feel warmth and care. In the days after the Shattering, hope is scarce. The once vibrant communities are now isolated pockets of survivors, each struggling to keep alive the memory of a better time. Every ruined building and every cracked pavement tells a story of loss. The grand halls that once echoed with song are now filled with the whispers of regret and the silence of unspoken goodbyes. The mighty statues, once a proud symbol of unity, have become nothing more than mournful relics, a stark reminder that all things are fleeting. There are still those who dare to try to rebuild, even if only in small ways. In the midst of decay, some survivors gather to share what little they have left. A soft smile, a gentle pat on the back, even a simple, caring hug. These are the moments that defy the crushing despair. In these small acts, there is an unyielding message. Even though our world is broken, our hearts remain unbroken. These gestures are like sparks in the darkness, a testament to our enduring humanity. I walk through these empty corridors, where every creaking floorboard and every distant sound seems to echo with the memories of the past. The lands are now a patchwork of desolation and faint hope. You see, the beauty that once radiated from every corner has faded into muted colors, a palette of grays and blues, punctuated by the occasional, unexpected burst of red from a wildflower or a stray light from a window. This contrast reminds us that even in the bleakest moments, life finds a way to shine through. The fields, once fertile and vibrant, now lie fallow and overgrown. The farms that sustained the people are abandoned, their tools rusting and their harvests lost to time. Yet, even here, nature has not completely surrendered to decay. In the quiet, you may notice a single sprout breaking through the soil, a defiant symbol of new life rising from the ashes of the old. These moments, though few and far between, give us hope that the cycle of life continues, even when the old order has been shattered. And what of the human connections? In the days before the Shattering, families gathered without fear, friends met with laughter, and communities thrived on shared dreams. Now, many wander alone, burdened by memories too heavy to carry. The loss of that collective spirit is felt deeply. It is as if the very essence of what made these people whole has been taken away, leaving behind only fragments of who they once were. Yet, even in this state of profound loneliness, there is a lesson to be learned. The harsh reality of the lands between now reminds us that beauty and kindness are not found in grand gestures alone. Sometimes, the quietest moments, a soft word, a brief touch, or a gentle hug speak the loudest. They remind us that no matter how dark our surroundings become, the light of compassion can still guide us. These simple acts become powerful beacons, challenging the overwhelming despair with the promise of connection. In this new age, every gentle embrace becomes an act of resistance. It tells us that we refuse to let the sorrow of the past completely steal our ability to care for one another. It is a reminder that even after the shattering, humanity can still rebuild, brick by broken brick, one tender moment at a time. The fallen order has left us with a harsh reality, a world where the shadows of what once was linger in every silent street and crumbling wall. Yet, in this quiet aftermath, there is a fragile beauty, a beauty that comes not from the grandeur of a perfect past, but from the resilient hope that persists in every kind gesture, every heartfelt hug, and every shared tear. It is a reminder that even in a world marred by loss, there remains the power to find light in the darkness. We have traveled a long and sorrowful road through the ruins of the Golden Order. In the wake of its fall, the lands between have taught us many lessons. We learned that even the brightest order can crumble under betrayal and loss, and that hope, once taken for granted, becomes a rare and precious gift in the midst of sorrow. The fall of the Golden Order shows us that unity and beauty are fragile. The light that once filled these lands has faded into memories of broken monuments and desolate paths. Yet, within that darkness we found a quiet strength. Every soft embrace, every kind gesture among the survivors has proven that even in despair, there is still a spark of humanity. We are reminded that a single act of kindness can be an act of rebellion against overwhelming loss. As we reflect on what has been lost, we also see the promise of a new beginning. The ruins speak of a past filled with hope and warmth, a past where communities thrived and the people were bound together by love and care. Now, amid the decay and loneliness, that same love fights to survive. It tells us that hope endures. It is in the small moments, a gentle word, a caring hug, that we find the courage to move forward, even when the world seems empty. This story teaches us that change is inevitable. The world will break, and from the broken pieces, a new order can emerge. The fall of the Golden Order is not simply an end, it is a call to rebuild, to learn from the mistakes of the past, and to find strength in the scars that remain. Even when the weight of sorrow feels unbearable, it is our shared humanity that can heal and unite us. Now, as we stand at the edge of a new era, I invite you to carry these lessons in your hearts. Remember that hope is never completely lost, and even in the deepest despair, a single spark of kindness can light the way to a better future. Before we part for now, here's a glimpse of what lies ahead in our next episode, the first Elden Lord Godfrey's rise and banishment. We will explore the journey of a man who rose from the ashes of loss and despair. His story is one of defiance and courage, a testament to the power of the human spirit to reclaim hope from even the darkest ruins. If you have found meaning in this story and the reflections it brings, please consider subscribing to my channel for more deep dives into the lore of the lands between. And if you feel moved to contribute, a donation would be greatly appreciated. Links in the description. Let us keep the light of hope burning, even in the darkest of times, as we face a new dawn together.